A clear, cloudless sky settles into the night. The stars appear as the moon rises above the horizon of a barren land stretching thousands of miles. A small quadrant of land, lush with forest untouched by human intervention, almost unnaturally, lays in the center of the barren fields. As the last shreds of light vanish over the horizon, a strange triangular glow fixates in the sky, not moving as the night sets. The woods buzz with the sounds of the wilderness. The trees, dark with the night, are bathed in the light of a full moon. A robot wearing all black clothing, a red scarf, and a hood, with A1 carved into its left arm and a smooth metallic face, wanders around the woods, disturbing the wilderness hum with a mechanical whirring of his own. A1 crouches as a deer comes into sight from across the woods. He takes his weathered-down rifle out, carefully aiming at the deer. Taking his time to aim, he makes minute movements to get the best possible shot at the deer. Then, he fires. A buzz sounds and A1 takes out a small tablet. The screen turns on as Spark, an AI, appears with a digital set of eyes and a mouth on the display.
Hey, did I fall asleep?
A1 gets up and walks over to the deer corpse. He sticks the tablet with Spark to the center of his chest.
Don't ignore me. Why didn't you wake me up earlier? I ain't that annoying, you jerk.
A1 walks towards the deer. The wind picks up, fluttering his cloak like a leaf in the wind.
Wasting shots on deer again? There are better things to do out here than that.
The triangular light in the sky shifts as it repeatedly goes dark and bright again.
Well, for one, there's that cabin you could always fix up. But even cleaning that gun you carry around might do you some good.
A1 looks up at the night sky, noticing that the triangular light is acting weird.
You could use a good cleaning, because your metal rusting too.
The lights then freeze as a small red light appears on the triangle. It then disappears as the triangle goes back to normal.
And maybe you can give me a new screen. What are you looking at?
Spark looks to where A1 is looking.
Was there always a red orb hurtling towards us?
The wind picks up as a fiery orb hurtles towards A1. A1 straps the rifle to his back, leaving the deer behind. He sprints towards the dark patch of ground in the distance. The wind whips around A1 as the orb approaches, flailing A1's scarf frantically. The forest grows bright from the flames of the approaching orb. A1 gets closer to the dark patch, confirming it to be a cave, as the once dark ground brightens up. The wind batters against A1, shifting him left and right as he sprints towards the cave.
We ain't gonna make it!
A1 jumps towards the cave, grabs its rim, and throws himself inside it. The orb hits the ground, shaking it like an earthquake. The forest then brightens for a moment, as if the sun had risen, quickly to return to darkness.
What was that? We almost died out there! Should we go see what that is?
The crash of the orb silences the forest. A1 and Spark power off for the night as the silence drags on till morning. Sunlight seeps into the cave entrance, waking A1 from his power down. He looks around, noticing how small the cave is as a few bugs are crawling around him. A1's head displays flickers with a yellow light, a reminder of something he'd rather forget. He switches it off, shifting his focus to awaken Spark. He taps on his chest where Spark resides, trying to wake her up.
5 more minutes.
A1 stands up, fluffing out his scarf and removing the dust. He grabs the rim of the cave, lifts himself out, then looks around for the orb. The forest is silent. A1 looks at the fallen trees that fell from the strong wind and follows the opposite direction. A1 wanders the fallen forest. Looking up, he watches the faint light from the triangle in the sky. A dip suddenly appears in the ground, catching A1 by surprise. A1 steps back, catching himself from falling. He looks down into the crater, noticing a smooth metal orb in the center of it. He steps carefully onto the side, sliding down to the center of the crater. He slides closer to the orb, eventually standing beside it and analyzing it. He goes out to touch it, sensing more to it. But as he grazes the orb with his finger, the orb activates. It lifts slightly, showing a blue glow inside. Steam releases as it spins open, releasing more steam as the top half fully opens. A1 clenches his rifle on his back as he backs up from the object. The smoke clears. He sees a pale gray child with white hair and white cloth covering it. A1 releases his rifle as he examines the baby.
That's a whole baby.
A1 flinches from hearing Spark's voice suddenly.
This baby can't do nothing. What you tensing up for?
The child cries from the sudden noise, making A1 dash backwards, grabbing his rifle and dropping into an aiming position, waiting for the child to attack it. A moment passes, and the child calms down, going back to sleep. A1 gets up and walks towards the child. Standing over it, he prods it. The child moves away from the prodding, annoyed. A1 picks up the baby, swallowing it with a blanket, and stares at it.
Can we keep it? I'ma call you Shara.
Multiple years pass as A1 raises Shara in the woods. Shara, now a young woman with pulled back white hair, sits on the balcony swinging her chair. She wears a white shirt brandished with a yellow twisting design near the top of it, and orange pants worn out and faded through the years of use. Shara chats with Spark as she waits for A1, growing impatient as each moment passes.
When is A1 coming back?
You know he spends his time doing nothing out there. He'll be back in a bit, like he always does.
But I want to hunt.
All you two ever think about is hunting. You know, after you came along, I finally got A1 here to do something else for once.
Shara hears the snapping of twigs in the distance and stops swinging. She climbs to the top of the cabin, searching the woods for any sign of A1. She calls for A1 at the top of her lungs.
A1! Oh, A1! I know you're close. Ellie1!
A1 finally emerges from the tree line, holding a deer over his shoulder, walking methodically over the ground towards the cabin. His hum of gears is now clunky, and his step more sluggish. Shara climbs down the cabin, jumping up and down from the side of the deer.
Yes, deer! My favorite.
Shara grabs Spark from the chair she was swinging on and heads inside. The cabin shines with the sun's light as A1 starts the stone fire pit to cook the deer. Shara reaches over to a wooden cabinet, grabbing some plates to set onto the table, placing Spark on the opposite side from her. Shara waits for A1 to be done cooking. A1 cuts the deer into tiny pieces and lays it out onto a metal grill. Shara looks hungrily at the sizzling meat, licking her lips for grilled venison. A1 lays out the now cooked deer meat onto Shara's plate and sits at the end of the table, staring thoughtfully at Shara as she devours the meat.
Oh, they grow up so fast. It seems just like yesterday when we found Shara in that crater.
A1 continues to stare at Shara as Spark powers down for a nap. Shara finishes her meal, setting her dish in a bin to wash later. She walks over to the rifle, leaning on the wall, and grabs it, putting it around her shoulder. As Shara does this, A1 grabs Shara's arm, looking straight at her with his smooth, metallic face, holding her tightly so as not to want to let her go.
I'll be fine. There's nothing in these woods that you haven't taught me how to handle.
A1 looks at Shara for a moment longer. Through its interface, a red light blinks where a yellow one was once shown years ago. A1 lets go of Shara, letting her leave the cabin. He continues to stare after her until Shara steps out of sight. A1 grabs Spark and walks onto the balcony. He places her on a small wooden table in view of the light to charge. Sitting on his wooden rocking chair, A1 stares out into the forest, watching the sun rise and hearing the birds chirp. The wind blows softly as he rocks in his chair, taking in the beautiful landscape. Now free to hunt, Shara runs to the woods. She runs in a straight line, jumping over rocks, weaving between trees, and dodging branches. She finds a clearing, setting herself down and taking an aiming position. Evening sets over the woods as Shara picks up all of her kills, tying them up and putting them over her shoulder. Making sure all the prey is secure, she heads back to the cabin. Shara opens the door to the cabin, whistling to herself, smiling from the amount of dead animals she has gathered throughout the day. She sets the haul on top of the table.
A1! Oh, A1! I've come back and I'm ready for dinner. You should see the haul that I've gathered. Even I'm impressed with these results. I hope we have gumbo tonight with all these meats.
She sets down the rifle, leaning it on the wall, seeing A1 sitting on the balcony, looking at the sunset with his smooth, metallic face. Noticing that A1 isn't responding to her with his regular whistles and groans, she crouches down, wanting to surprise A1 awake. She inches closer and closer to A1, moving slower and slower as to not make a sound, until she is right behind him. Then she bounced up, pushing the chair that A1 was sitting in. Waiting to hear a flurry of aggravated groans and whistles, she scrunches into a ball and hides immediately until she hears a thud. Opening her eyes with a playful glimmer, Shara sees A1 lying on the floor motionless. Her glimmer disappears. As she gets up, going over to A1, she lifts him from the ground.
Hey, are you alright, A1? Wake up. Are you okay?
Shara shakes A1, trying to awaken A1 from his power down. After a while, Shara stops shaking A1 and gets a cold chill. She let go of A1 and starts to cry.
A1. A1, please wake up. I need you to wake up now, please!
Shara's voice begins to crack with desperation, each plea more urgent than the last.
A1. A1, please wake up. I need you to wake up now, please!
Breaking down into a scream of sadness, she shuffles closer to A1, holding him as tightly as she can, coddling him. Sobbing uncontrollably, tears stream down her cheek as she hugs A1. The sun sets as Shara cries until she falls asleep. Morning rises as Shara wakes up. Seeing A1's body, she wells up into tears. Looking up, she closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She picks up A1, setting him down on the chair as he sat before covering his lap with a blanket and moves him to face the sun. Shara picks up Spark, tapping her screen to wake her up.
What?
A1's dead.
Let me see him. No. This can't. No.
Shara leaves Spark on the table to grieve her friend while she goes inside. Shara grabs A1's rifle, still sniffing from crying. She looks around the cabin, looking at all the places A1 used to be, seeing how empty the cabin is without him. Entering the dining room, Shara sees a folded piece of paper with her name on it. Picking up the paper, she unfolds it, revealing a small USB with scotch tape with the words "Memories" written upon it. Shara walks into the balcony, picks up Spark, and plugs in the USB.
What are you doing?
I found this on the table. I think A1 left this. What's on it?
It's a video. Do you want me to play it?
Please.
Spark's screen goes black as images appear on the screen. The dark forest plays, and then a flaming ball of light appears. The screen cuts to a young baby, Shara, learning to walk for the first time. 2 arms extend from the foreground, picking up baby Shara and tossing her up and down. The screen cuts again, showing a child, Shara, aiming the rifle for the first time. The young Shara shoots the rifle, dropping it to the floor from astonishment. The screen again cuts, showing the young Shara playing with 2 sticks. A1 whistle sounds, and the young Shara gets up and approaches the camera. The screen cuts to an older Shara, relaxing on a hammock and talking to Spark. The screen finally cuts to Shara from earlier this morning, devouring the venison and leaving the cabin to the woods. The footage still rolls as the camera gets up, moves outside, and sits in the chair. The footage shows the woods moving in the wind. A1's voice sounds through the screen, giving a final whistle as the screen turns black. Shara tears up again, and Spark's face appears on the interface.
That was all that was on it.
What did he say at the end?
He said, thank you for being in his life.
Shara and Spark remain silent for a few moments, the wind blowing softly, the birds chirping, the trees shifting. The wind in the silence continues. Shara then breaks the silence.
I want to go beyond the woods.
What? No.
There has to be something out there. Something to bring back A1.
No, you can't. He.
I have to try.
It's safer here.
But A1's gone. It's not the same anymore.
Fine. But you're taking me with you.
Of course.
Hours pass, and Shara leaves the cabin, cloaked in A1's red scarf, armed with his rifle and Spark in hand. Shara sets out to go beyond the woods, closing the cabin door. She looks back at the cabin. Taking a breath, she looked back towards the woods, confidently walking away from the cabin.